bring you guys another book review. This is actually 2 books in one. I'm super excited for this series. And so in this video, I'm going to be telling you about books 1 and 2 in the Home to Heather Creek series, written by Kathleen Bauer.
Come home to Heather Creek. Get to know Charlotte Stevenson, who is raising her grandchildren on the family farm after a tragic accident changes all of their lives forever. With the help of her husband, Bob, and a close-knit circle of friends, she will do whatever it takes to keep this fragile family together. See how God, who makes the sun rise and the crops grow, watches over our lives, too.
Book 1 in the series is titled Before the Dawn, and I'm going to let you guys check out the synopsis right now.
Charlotte Stevenson's world is turned upside down by the death of her daughter Denise. Denise ran away from home as a teenager, and Charlotte has never forgiven herself. Now, Denise's 3 children are coming to live on Heather Creek Farm. Sam, fiercely protective of his younger siblings, Emily, desperately missing her friends, and young Christopher, a sweet soul who wants to fit in. Is this Charlotte's chance to make things right? While Charlotte helps the grandchildren she barely knows adjust to their new life, she also wrestles with her own grief and insecurity. What if she makes the same mistakes this time around? But small joys remind Charlotte that God gives grace freely, even in trying times. The miracle of new life, along with God's healing touch, remind them all that it's always darkest before the dawn.
So I was super surprised to learn that Kathleen Bauer is actually a pen name for a group of writers who have come together to create this series. Before the Dawn was actually written by a woman named Carolyn Arson. She was actually a city girl who transplanted to the country when she got married. She raised 4 children, and as well as some foster children. She has also published over 40 books. To me, that in a way, I don't know, it just totally came across in her writing, especially because of the topic of this book, the setting and everything. So I think it was just perfect for the first book in the series. I think what is special about this series, about Before the Dawn, is the fact that, and the title absolutely appropriate, because you know they say it's darkest just before dawn, and that's exactly where we meet this family. This is exactly where we meet the children and Charlotte, the main character, their grandmother. We meet them in one of the darkest moments of their lives that a family will ever face. Just seeing Charlotte trying to be strong for her grandchildren, and not only dealing with the fact that she is now responsible for these 3 children whom she barely knows, and that she's going to be raising them, but the fact that she herself has not really been able to deal with the grief of losing her daughter Denise. When we meet the kids, they are completely not used to life on the farm. They're not used to doing chores. They're not used to family Bible time around the table. They cannot stand the bad cell phone reception and the slow internet. So basically they're so just like kids today. Absolutely. I think that's really what made the characters so real in this. It's just that you could really feel the awkwardness of now this family that's their family, but they don't even really know each other, and they're suddenly under one roof, and all of the things that would come out, the pain, the hurt, the fact that they don't really have a relationship, and now they're being forced to. What really, the thing that aggravated me in this book was, and this happens a lot of times in real life too, is that all of the well-wishers, the friends, the people who were just trying to help or say a kind word, a lot of times it just made me cringe when I heard some of the things that they were saying. I was just like, what are you saying? It really reminded me of the story of Job, and when his friends came to see him during his darkest moments, that they weren't very helpful. Will this family be able to love each other and pull together especially now when they need one another the most. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the second book in this series. It's titled Sweet September, and I was surprised to learn that this is actually written by an author that I was familiar with, Tricia Goyer.
Harvest at Heather Creek Farm is an exciting time. The earth bursts with life, providing sustenance for the coming winter. However, the Slater children don't seem to be getting into the spirit. Emily is struggling with farm life, Christopher spends most of his time alone, and Sam is failing school. Charlotte is determined not to make the same mistakes that she did with her own kids, but how can she get her grandchildren back on track? Then the vegetable garden by the house is uprooted one night. Who could have done such a thing? Charlotte is determined to uncover the truth, and as they all pull together to find answers, they learn more about one another and the love that binds them. As this cobbled-together family adjusts to their new life, they find hope for their future in lessons of their past.
I kind of wondered with this series if being that it was written by two different authors, I wondered how the story would flow. Would I still feel the same that I felt when I first met the characters? Would they still be the same in the second book? How would it flow story-wise? But I have to tell you, it flowed seamlessly. I loved it. I loved it more as I get to know these children, and as I get to see Charlotte's heart more and more, and as the series goes on, I love it. And I totally couldn't tell. If I didn't know, I wouldn't know that this was written by two different people. So when Sweet September begins, the family is sort of getting used to their new sense of normal, being together on the farm, and sort of coming together, getting to know one another. And I don't really want to say a whole lot about the series as far as this second book, because I don't want to ruin the first book for you if you're not familiar with this series. I want you to be able to read and totally enjoy. But I will say this, today about the series as a whole, today there are so many grandparents raising their grandchildren. And so to me, that just makes this series so much more relevant and timely. The fact that, as I read, I could see the children, I could picture people I know in my real life and be like, yeah, that's exactly what they're going through. That's exactly how they felt. So I think that the authors have done an amazing job of making this story just so real. And it's definitely just a wonderful series. What really kind of comes out more in book 2 is just that it's a learning process. There's it's kind of funny to say there's a generation gap there between grandparents and grandchildren and the things that they're into, because when grandparents grew up, they grew up in a different world than we're living in, and when they raised their kids, it was different, and things changed so quickly. And I think that just a little bit of humor in there of trying to learn to be a parent to teenagers again at a time of life when you didn't expect that you were going to have to. And so, but I think a lot of readers will totally relate to that and appreciate it and just love it. To me, in a lot of ways, Before the Dawn seemed to kind of focus more on, I would say, two particular characters, Charlotte, of course, being the main character, and then Emily, her granddaughter. It was just sort of you read a lot of Emily's thoughts and what was going on with her. And to me, the focus is a little bit more on Christopher, the youngest of the children. I'm really excited to be able to read more in the series. I was looking up online to see how many more books are in the series, and I was thrilled to find that there are several more. And so I can't wait to collect the whole series and read. I think even in a lot of ways, even like young adults and teens would enjoy this series, because it's just it's for all ages in a lot of ways, because you've got the grandparents and then you've got the kids, and you can totally relate to them, and you can totally relate to the grandparents, and so and Charlotte, and it's just a wonderful series. I love it. I love stories about families. If you love stories about families and and just coming together in hard times, being there for one another and learning to love one another. You're going to love this series. I highly recommend it. I give Before the Dawn and Sweet September by Kathleen Bauer both 5 out of 5 stars. This is one of my favorite new series. That's it from JoJo's Corner. Until next time, happy reading. Bye, everybody.